There we go. I think we're operational. If you are perceiving these words, I ask you to please put a random series of numbers in the chat. Any series of numbers will do, preferably your childhood phone number, the earliest childhood phone number that you can remember. Put that in the chat. And yeah, let us know if you can hear us, if we are operational. Greetings, everyone. I think it's Sunday evening. We had that strange time change thing over here, whatever that means, right? What is daylight savings? Like, what are we actually saving? Anyway, who knows? But yeah, no, we did. So the time we had a timeline displacement anomaly. Some of us thought we were going live last night. I kind of did too. I'll be real. I kind of did too. I thought we were, but it turned out no. Turned out we had a little bit of a glitch in the multi-dimensional time stream, and here we are, 24 hours later. But anyway, greetings, you guys. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for rolling on in here, man. I tell you, ever since we lost the lease at the multi-dimensional trailer park, YouTube's just been tanking our channel like heavily, heavily, heavily. It's funny because I'm not even one of the content creators that really has any incentive to ever look at my YouTube numbers. You know what I mean? It's like I really don't ever look at them, but I have, and it's funny for such an inactive channel, they're constantly taking away subscribers from us. So please do check if you're still subscribed to this. If you're not, you can help us out greatly by liking the content here, and just to help us break through the algorithm. I think I'm probably going to start another channel, or I will reopen the doors to our our secret backup channel, because this one is just getting squashed. But for now, it's the best that we have. And so welcome. It's good to see everybody once again. Some of you guys will notice, based upon if you've watched this before, you will notice that it appears as though I might be in the same environment as we normally are. If you've watched this channel, if you've watched any of our live streams, maybe you'll even go, oh, it looks very similar, right? Very similar. And yet it's not. So we will begin our evening with a little bit of a personal update. For those of you guys that were watching last, I don't know, was it 2 weeks ago? Was it a month ago? Who knows? Was it 2024? I don't know, but that's how bad my concept of time is. But for those of you guys that saw our last live stream, we talked a little bit about the strange little fire situation we had, but more importantly, the comedic aftermath of all that. And some of you guys will recall that, yes, I was going live from the closet in the back of our apartment, which sounds kind of cheesy. It sounds sort of lame, but I have to be real. It was a very well contained area. Um, I'm not opposed to doing that in the future, but since then, anyway, before I go on and on about that, since then, we have actually moved to a different apartment in the same complex. I'm gonna be real. It's I would call it a dramatic downsize, which is okay, which is all right. You know what I mean? I do believe it to be permanent, or not. Was that a weird Freudian slip? Permanent. I do believe it to be temporary, definitely very temporary. But I think everyone out there has been through those experiences where you've been living in a place for a little while and you start to notice how, I don't know, it's not always a spiritual thing, although, if you hang out with the wrong people or the right people, everything is nowadays right. But, sometimes you'll just notice the sign and the changes in kind of energy, and I think we're starting to notice that in our own way. I commented a little bit about it. I think last time we were here, it might have been in Patreon meeting. I'm not sure, but anyway, so yeah, and it's certainly an interesting transitional period in terms of living situations. But at the same time, I genuinely cannot complain. Like you know what I mean? Like I really can't. Like nobody would, And so anyway, we are in an alternate location for the time being. Which, who knows? Maybe that's safer. Maybe that's better. But Yeah, greetings. Let me know if you guys have any questions before we get started this evening. And we're going to do a strange thing. I normally never do this, right? If I ever have something important to say, I will nearly, I will, I will nearly always, save it for an hour in. But part of the reason why we're here today, you guys, part of the reason why we're here is because we are about to embark on a very important journey. And some of you guys already know about this. We're going to be demonstrating some of it here today. Some of you guys have heard me talk about this ad nauseum over the last few weeks, but maybe not because we haven't been doing too many lives. And I don't know whether I'm blessed or whether, I'm just kind of well planted in something. But what I've noticed is when we do announce certain classes, there's times when I don't even really have to advertise them too much because people just start showing up. And I'm grateful to say that people have been showing up for this one. And we are just about full. And so for those of you guys that have been watching us, those of you guys that have been attracted to this channel, those of you guys that have just taken part in the work that we do over the past, I don't know how many years we've been doing this channel. You'd think we've been doing it, a lot longer. Who knows? My concept of time is bad, but for a lot of those people out there that have been drawn to the work that I do and also Nora does, it's usually through the lens of the very unique type of psychic or intuitive readings that we facilitate. And whether you're here to become a professional tarot reader or you're just trying to open up your intuitive abilities, I think we are living in one of the stages in your human life cycle in which you have greater access to those abilities now than you ever have before. And it's not to say that we didn't have them before. It's not to say that, it's a finite chance, but there's these opportunistic waves of energy that will rise and fall in our life. And there are times in which it's like the waves are cresting. And you guys have heard people talk about the so-called, cringe terms like golden age and a new, cycle that we're all in. And those can mean many things to many different people. But one thing that we do know is happening right now is a great advancement within our abilities and especially within what we would call consciousness. And for those of you guys that are familiar with the book that I released, it was in June of last year. We talked within that about the four gateways, or rather what I call the four gateways of intuitive activation. And the first gateway is detoxification and deprogramming, which is which we may be talking about this evening. However, based on current YouTube guidelines, it's not something I can usually talk too heavily about. But more importantly, for today's subject matter, we're talking about the second gateway of true intuitive activation, and that is divination. Divination is the stage within your what we might call multidimensional intuitive, awakening or activation journey, where you begin to create a what is essentially a language through which you will learn to communicate with spirit in this life, whether that be what we call the higher self, whether that be guides, whether that be the intelligent waves of energy that are shared and collected and transmitted between all of us, the what we might call the human internet and the wavelengths of unseen data that we all have access to. Um, when we begin the process of divination, we begin the process of learning to read those energies in a number of different ways. And it's not necessarily always, like I said, about becoming a tarot reader, but for those that are entering in and are, maybe you're knee deep into that stage of your life where you're realizing that you're looking for a different system through which to embrace and activate your intuitive abilities. I believe that this is absolutely one of the most unique opportunities that you can take in unlocking that for yourself. And so anyway, the reason why I'm talking about it here today is because it's starting on Sunday. It is starting on Sunday, the 16th. We're in exactly 1 week. I'll be real. I did open 2 other spots because we had some people returning from previous years within the class. And so there's going to be a little bit more than 12 people. But for those of you guys that want to join us, the time is now. I believe that you absolutely have the ability to begin doing readings for yourself and others. Honestly, if you're watching this video, if you're watching it live, or if you're watching the recorded version of it, there is a reason why you're attracted to this channel, and there's billions of them out there. And I believe that one of those reasons is because people that are attracted to the work that we do are often coming from a similar timeline, a similar makeup, a similar frequency within themselves, and you will have the ability to begin reading energy in a number of different ways. And so anyway, I'm not going to dwell on this too long, but I'm just putting that out there for those of you guys that want to join us. You can head over to rememberyourmission.com, and we're just going to be going for 6 weeks straight, every Sunday for 6 weeks. It is a, it's certainly a little bit of a commitment in time, because you're going to be meeting with us every Sunday for 6 weeks, which for some people is kind of a big deal. For other people, you're like, yeah, give me something to do. But anyway, for those of you guys that are ready for it, this is probably one of the most unique, intuitive education journeys that you are ever going to take in this life. Well, I'll just be real. There's not one single person that I know within the soul group of individuals that I'm currently linked to, that I'm aware of in this now moment, that works with tarot in any way similar to the way that, I mean, absolutely in any way similar. You're not going to find anyone else. I'm not saying that there isn't in the world, because one of the cool things that happens is when you really take ownership over your process as a professional psychic or intuitive or practitioner, or whatever label you want to add to it, you will inevitably begin creating your own version of everything. And so the reality is, I think inside many of us, there is a highly unique, highly specialized, highly individualized path of intuitive, just skills that you have that, um, for me, I think the stage when it really started to kind of explode, and some of you guys know it, I'm going to say this is so cheesy, but the stage when it really started to explode for me was when I gave myself permission to actually realize and believe that it was true and it was real for me. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, yeah, you know what, I can, and I am actually psychic, and you know what I mean? Because for some people, that's a very cringe thing still, right? I say this in a lot of the other classes that we do, but it's like, if you've been attracted to this type of work that we talk about on this channel, you are part of a group of people on Earth who are working with forces that the majority of people in the human population still do not even believe to be real. To me, that's a like, whoa, you know what I mean? Maybe to other people, they're like, oh, yeah, anyway, but to me, I'm like, whoa. The reality is, I think a lot of us are forerunners of a certain thing in kind of what we do. And it's not to say that there's really anything new, you know what I mean? I think we're all just kind of like repeating cycles and, like remembering things, that we have from other lives. But anyway, it's coming up next week. It's happening. Anyway, thank you for enjoying our infomercial today. We are going to be doing some readings, but for those of you guys that want to join us, right now I did open 2 other spots. So if you see it and it says it's open, it still is. It still is. So I'm grateful to those of you guys that are joining us. I think it says something positive when people from the past want to return to the class to take it again. And I think that's because every year it sort of changes. Like we go through this process where it's like, I'll take a bunch of things out, repeat certain things, kind of put emphasis upon certain parts of the process or certain aspects of it. And I think kind of more, if there were changes that I think I'm bringing into it this year, is kind of more of what I would call an individualistic aspect, like methods in which you can find more of yourself within the cards, which I think is one of the most important things you'll ever do. It's like a relationship that you begin to build with them. But I would say a little bit more this year is a little bit more about finding ourselves within them. I think that especially for people that, maybe your whole goal is not to be, like I said several times, maybe your goal is not to become a professional tarot reader. Because let's be real, I'm just gonna say it. Get ready. Watch me shoot myself in the foot. Okay. Because they're a dime a dozen, right? Depending on who you go to, right? You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, this card means that card, and this means that. You know what I mean? It's a highly diluted world, and I think at the same time, there's people that can create really, really major ownership over it. And so, whether you're here to do that or you're here to kind of advance your skills, I think this is absolutely one of the best ways to do it. And anyway, I'm going on and on about it needlessly here, but thanks you guys. What's up, welcome healing? She says happy daylight savings, right? You know what? I was saying this earlier. We were coming back from getting some food somewhere, and I was like, this feels more normal. the version of right now that it is, I think it was about 7 p.m. on the East Coast, you know what I mean? And we were coming home and I was like, okay, the overall lighting, like where we're at right now in terms of, like the daytime cycle, I was like, this feels normal. This one feels natural. The one that we were in previously, and some of you will disagree, and you'll be like, no, it was actually better on the other side of daylight savings. But I don't know. To me, the version that we switched to over the weekend is the one that I would like them to remain at. But who knows? Will they ever? I wonder. A lot of us talk about that. Anyway, hopefully my microphone dynamics are okay, you guys. I've recently made some changes in the settings. So, I mean, I've noticed I'm either always like right here or I'm like way back here. So, anyway, let me know. Hopefully the sound is okay. And that said, let me know if you guys have any questions about anything that is currently happening in our world. Oh, and also thank you, Welcome Healing. Thank you for joining this class. Very, very sincerely. Absolutely. You definitely can read cards. That is, I know it sounds cheesy, but the reality is it's also a lot like learning to play the guitar, which people will be like, how is it like learning to play the guitar? Well, it sounds kind of cheesy, but the reality is anyone that practices long enough will be able to play the guitar. It's the same thing when it comes to beginning the process of, at the very least, developing a knowledge in terms of definitions of cards in any deck of tarot. Um, Practice ultimately is going to help you retain a certain amount of information, and then there's these whole other deeper layers that will kind of come along with it all. But for a lot of us, like, really the defining factor is, are you willing to continue to practice it? This is a thing that we talk about in kind of the first session, where it's like, if you really want this to work for you, if you really want to begin to open up a channel within your life through which spirit will begin to speak with you, whether it be through tarot, whether it be through within your own meditations, through your own practices, however you choose to awaken that. What I've noticed, and I think this is something that we've seen with everyone that has really formally begun this path and created a self-sustaining thing out of it, it becomes something that you do every single day, something that you devote yourself to every single day. It's not necessarily saying it is the only thing that you do every day. Although I'm going to be real with you, if you're able to facilitate that type of a transition in your life where you've become fully devoted to a path such as this, you will notice a very particular type of change that occurs in people's life. But I will say that's kind of, I would say, a relatively rare jumping off point that people take right at the early stages. But for those that are willing to really devote themselves and practice this on a daily basis, you're going to come to a very different level of understanding. And it's one of those things where it's not like this light switch clicks on and suddenly you're like, wow, I've received 20% more intuitive awareness. It's not like this thing where you quantify it. What happens is you start to notice these different layers and waves of information that exist within the faces, within the words, within the messages that you see, even within the products on the shelves, and these other layers of kind of symbolism and these like wavelengths of communication that I think we are all constantly interacting with. But I think one of the things that happens when you really begin to open up the intuitive channels in the body is you start to perceive those things much more deliberately. And it's kind of one of those things where for people who have not engaged within that path, they're not going to necessarily be able to understand it. um, there's many other ways in which I could describe that, which for some reason I'm drawing a blank on. I was about to give you another example of it, but anyway, for those that are willing to continually devote themselves to it, I think overall you're in a year where you're going to notice the greatest amount of growth in terms of what you're closed off against and also in terms of what you're open to. And anyway, there's a lot further I could go with that, but we're not going to go there. Anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions about psychic development, especially any of the clair abilities. One of the kind of the I think messages that was given to me over the past few weeks. I can't believe I'm literally going to say this live. Oh God! All right. One of the messages that was given to me upon waking over the past few weeks is that one of the missions that we have in this life is to write another book about the nature of activation of psychic abilities within the body and how those can be experienced so differently for each person. Because I think for myself, and kind of looking back at like the majority of the bizarreness of the past 8 years of doing this work, I think that I was either blessed or cursed in some way to experience every single one of the clair abilities, whether it was traumatically, whether it was traumatically or it was like, in a sustaining, meaningful way. It was like every single one of them occurred in my life. And, um, I know there's a lot of other people that have gone through that. I am not an anomaly when it comes to that part of it, but I haven't been hearing too many people talk about such things, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that we're just in a stage of kind of like soul group development where people are still really, really wanting to leave the planet rather than improve the version of themselves that are currently incarnated on it. And I don't mean that as like me like striking out at anyone. I've just noticed that's still the overall message with like every disclosure influencer and like every alliance informer and all these people. It's always about leaving the planet, or the never ending battle between light and dark, which I think is also of incredibly noble cause. I think it's one of the most important ones. But I think there's a stage in the human journey, and I'm not saying I'm in that stage or beyond it. It's just a thing that I've observed. So I'm not speaking from a place of superiority, but there's this stage in the journey where you will realize, like, sort of everyone that remains caught up within that we must defeat every single thread of darkness and, mass arrest every bad person and clear out every negative thing in this world. People that remain stuck in that timeline and that mindset, if there's one thing we've learned so far, is that literally none of those things ever happened. It's a mindset of kind of like never ending war that a lot of us will sort of pick up. And there's a lot of like noble, causes within it. There's a lot of like brilliance, honestly, on both sides. Let's be real. There's brilliance on both sides. But I think one of the ways that, maybe I've aided myself over the past few months is by like really removing any real, I don't know what the word is. Maybe it's emphasis, or I don't know. Maybe this is the wrong, this is the wrong word, but I'll use it. I would almost say interest, by kind of like casually removing interest and focus in the never-ending space war that everyone seems to think we're a part of. You know what I mean? Anyway, no, I'm not going to go too far on that one, but I think somebody out there gets it. Selena Inglis says, "Do you ever have random days where you have an ability, but then since that day or time, you've been able to do that again? Maybe not been able to do that again. I would imagine. I talked about it in my book, and maybe it's just such a cringe and wild thing to talk about. But for me, I would say the most. Sorry, I wasn't even trying to get rid of your comment. For me, the most I would say the most wild version of that for me that ever took place was in, I believe that was 2015. I talked about this in my book, where there was a morning in which I was standing in the shower, and I actually had, it's just so cringe for some people. I don't know why I'm still afraid to talk about it live on the internet, because I already published a book saying like way more than what I'm about to say. So it's like, who even cares at this point? But there was a literal flame, a blue flame erupted in the palm of my hand. I was holding it like this in the shower, like feeling this crazy energy going through my body. I didn't know anything about Kundalini. I didn't know anything about vital life force energy at that stage of the journey. I did not know that there were people in other parts of the world that had cultivated the energy within their body for decades and decades so that they could actually do that. I think for me, it was just, it had been ripped open, and it was like, something came out. And so, yeah, no, there was a day where literally there was a wisp of blue electric fire that came out of the palm of my hand. And I wish I could repeat that. You know what I mean? That would be an amazing one. But I've also realized that's how it is for a lot of us that will go through stages of extreme activation. The reality is that it's not meant to remain within that state. And for many of us, it's almost unsustainable. Well, let's be real. If it was sustainable, I'm not trying to, make it a joke, but if it was sustainable, we would have sustained it, right? I guess. No pun intended. Maybe that's not a pun, but you guys sort of get where I'm going. So I think for some of us, it is. It's like you're gonna, the sort of the energy or whatever it is will rise to such a level right at that point in time where a certain wavelength is unlocked within the body. Kind of like, for me, the first time I ever was able to discern a chakra was through sound. Well, honestly, it was a weird combination of like sound and light and like a voice all at the same time, which still doesn't make any sense to this very day. It makes zero sense, but yeah. She says, it was like at the beginning of me awakening up one day, I could see people how they really looked. One person had one eye that spun and the other, oh, yeah, totally. One eye that spun and another that stayed normal. I seen a lot of people that day. Oh, man, thanks for mentioning that. That's a very distinct stage that I also went through as well. And I think it's really good to talk about Selena, because this, once again, another thing I talk about in the book. But that there was a stage where I think for me that like most of the visual elements of what I was perceiving energetically with people during that hyper activated stage, I think really came from the opening of the crown chakra. For those that are out there, let's be real, you can sort of tamper with and open up seals within the body, and every now and then you can cultivate such reactions by opening up your energy, but it won't always stick, and sometimes it has negative, repercussions. But there was a stage for me where that was very, very real. I saw literal appendages that would come out of people's body. There was like a parasitic twin sort of a being that I saw that was attached to a man's body in this Mexican supermarket in National City, California. And it was almost like the being that was attached to him sort of acknowledged me and looked at me in this weird way. Honestly, it scared me. It made me feel sick. It was one of the weirdest experiences I'd ever had. And I knew at that stage of my life, there was literally not a single person I could tell that to, because I was like, what am I supposed to say? I was walking around the supermarket and I saw this man literally with a being sticking out of his side that smelled like human feces. Like, who am I going to tell that to? Right. Like, seriously, who, who could you tell that to? Nobody really. And I didn't. I just sat with it and was like, okay, all right, I'm perceiving this for some reason right now. This is a thing that's been at that stage it had been happening for, I think that was like the first month or two, or it's almost silly for me to try to quantify it into like this measurable period of time now, because I think so many things were occurring within that space of time that it's like, how can you really measure it? But there's people that would have like these shadow, literal shadow beings that were like kind of hanging behind them like actual shadows. You know how like you'll be walking through a parking lot and that long shadow from the sun will sort of trail behind you. I mean, there was literally people that had like shadows trailing behind them. And um I don't know. I wish I could say, I've said this a million times, so it's kind of a dumb thing, but I wish I could say that I had the wherewithal to make it into an exploratory, cool thing at that stage of my life. Like, I wish I could say that it was this thing where I was like, yeah, and then I realized it was like a superpower, or something, but I wasn't. I just did a lot of crying and, for real, it sounds so dumb. There's always a hater or two that's kind of watching though. It's like, but I did. I spent a lot of time in confusion. But anyway, a lot of you guys have heard that story. What's up, Robin Lane? She says, maybe it's a message to let us know it is possible to keep on the journey. Oh, I assume that you're speaking of certain abilities and things that will kind of manifest and then we'll integrate them. I think it is. I think that as that energy moves through us, gateways will open, gateways will close. I think that's one of the things that I've noticed in doing the work that I do, especially when it comes to those that are always opening the third eye, which is all of us really. But One of the things that we find, especially with like the upper chakras, like from, I would say, like the thymic chakra on up, is that, well, all of our chakras really, but especially the upper chakras, because of, I think, so many of the harmful wavelengths and like frequencies from technology that are interacting with the mental body. Those are energy centers that are constantly opening and sort of closing. And I know this sounds crazy to some people, but I firmly believe that in the future, that's many of, honestly, a lot of what I'm saying will be proven to have been true. I'm not the only one saying such things, but the sort of alignment of the chakra system within the body will change and sort of alter itself. And one of the things that I've even theorized and kind of noticed, but I don't know that I've had enough chance to be exposed to it long enough to notice this trend in people, but I started to build it when I was living in LA and seeing people in person, was that I think even people that live in areas that are hit by really hard EMF frequencies, or those that have like a massive cell phone tower that's like right outside their apartment, one of the effects that I believe it can have upon the energy body is that it will actually cause the chakra system, like the alignment, to begin to take an unnatural kind of, um for some reason the word I'm wanting to use is formulation, but that's not the, I'm sorry, alignment, an unnatural alignment within the body. And that's one of the early seeding factors for autoimmune symptoms that will eventually be born from things like 5G or other harmful frequencies. And oh, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that on YouTube, so um you know, hopefully they'll allow it. This is all, merely, this is all just research for a book I'm writing, right? Not like it matters, because the I'm saying this humorously. I'm saying this humorously, but not like it matters, because if I've noticed the most people that will probably watch this video will be between 500 and 600 people. So like in the realm of YouTube, it's like, what? Like who? Huh? Who said what? But anyway, no, I think that is one of the things that we will notice later on a greater level. I think just as people catch on to understanding and working with energetic anatomy, who knows? It might be after I've passed on, then they'll finally. I shouldn't say it. Anyway, thanks for being here, everybody. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to scroll through and look for your questions. We're going to do some readings as well. As you know, our tarot class begins in 1 week. If you have a question, put a bunch of question marks or put it in all caps so that I can see it. I'm going to look for question marks. So put your question marks out there. Welcome Healing has question marks. There's tons of information out there. It's hard to discern what's true. I absolutely believe that. It's very hard to discern what's true. It's like there's so many people with huge followings and all kinds of social influence right now. And there's so many, professional remote viewers and a lot of really cool people that seem to have this mission to dictate reality. And I said this recently on a couple other broadcasts, and one of the things, if you haven't noticed, is that literally no one is getting it right in terms of future forecasting. Everyone gets pieces, right? Everyone gets a little shard, but no one is getting it right at all. And it's funny because, some people allow these people to dictate your reality on such a level that they don't pause to go like, wait, none of this has ever even happened yet. And I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone in particular, but it's just one of those things that I've noticed. And I believe that a big part of that is because we're working in such a multi-dimensional reality right now that, I've said it a million times, but you'll be literally on a YouTube live with people like we are right now. And even the people within the chat group that are talking with you right now will absolutely be within another version of reality. Even right now in this moment. And one of the threads that will tie our many versions of reality together are the choices that we make in terms of what we want to connect with. A good example of it will be those of you that are connected and watching this channel right now. You can think of this as what we would call a timeline junction point for all the people that are finding it in the live show, all the people that will find it afterward. Congratulations, your timeline led you to this moment right now. And I think a big part of it is because I think you're gonna start noticing from your own perspective how your version of reality is so much more different than a lot of the versions of reality that you're watching. Many of the people that, many of our friends and family are kind of co-agreeing upon versions of reality that we're not even necessarily a part of. And I know for some people that you're gonna go like, "Wait, what? What do you mean? How are you even saying we're not a part of the same version of reality as other people when they're right here in the same house with me? How could that be real?" Um, well, it is. It literally is. Think of the difference in mindset. You know what I mean? Even if you don't want to call it a version of reality, think of their worldview. One might say our worldview greatly defines what we understand as our reality. So, anyway, anyway, you guys, somebody out there gets it. I'm gonna look for your questions. Boom. What's up, Felicia? How's it going? She says, "What do you think about the Capitol Dome at the White House being a spacecraft that can lift off the top and spin around? Experienced that in a dream recently." Whoa. Honestly, I would say, why the hell not? I pray that there's some sort of a crazy, massive ship, or maybe what's that huge obelisk down there, that Masonic obelisk somewhere at the Capitol. Well, maybe that's like I don't know, maybe that's a ship, or maybe it's maybe it's the Capitol building. I would honestly, I pray that it is. I would love for it to be. I'm not even saying that from a humorous perspective. I pray to God that we will have some form of a bizarre type of disclosure, one that we never planned for. And it's like, and we turned out the biggest ship was right under the White House. But I guess what would be crazy about that is, even if that came true, the majority of people on planet Earth would just be like, huh? Oh, okay. Anyway, I guess we have to go to work tomorrow. You know what I mean? People, it's, yeah, you'll still have to go to work tomorrow. Anyway, I pray it is. I think that would be awesome. Anyway, thanks. Thank you, Felicia. Good to see you. So I have to like angle my eyes downward now. For those of you guys that haven't noticed, I recently got new glasses, and I made sure to request the highest amount of glare possible. I'm like, I want the glasses with the most glare so that no one will be able to possibly see anything but the reflection of my own screen in my glasses, which I'm now discovering is a major thing. But it's like I have to angle my eyes down. Not that that has actually anything to do with the focal quality of the glasses. I actually just got, your prescription changes over time. And the good news is my distance, what is it? I forgot the term. My distance vision has not changed. It's still as horrible as it was before. But my close up vision, you know what I mean? I guess that's how it is. Welcome to your late 40s. Meanwhile, there's people that are watching this that are much older that are like, what? And other people that are watching this that will be like, wow, that feels like a really a really long way away. Maybe it is, but anyway, here's another question from Kelly Ann. Kelly Ann, what is the best way to open my crown chakra? I think that it probably depends upon the individual. I know that when it comes to really opening or balancing, or we could say even tuning, or whatever kind of buzzword you want to attach to working with chakras, the fun thing about it is that there's a million ways in which to do it. If you want to get even super technical, they talk about in the law of one that even just adopting the right series of thoughts and emotional beliefs within the body that are more healthy and kind of more balanced will actually balance the chakras and change the alignment of it. So, not that that would mean anything to you. I mean, it might, but in terms of technique, in terms of stuff that you can do to begin to just open or to perceive or to feel that energy center within the body, um, I would start. In fact, we can even do a little bit of it right now. And who knows, every now and then when I do this, a million people click off, or some people, for those of you guys that are here with us, you're going to feel a little bit of a stirring sensation at the top of your head. every now and then, just by me mentioning it, if you're energetically open, you'll feel a slight pulsation at the top of your head. But I'll give you a little bit of a technique. And if you want to receive, you can kind of join me in this and we'll send a little bit of energy to the crown. But before we do that, why would you want to do something like that? What would be the purpose behind doing it? Because depending on who you watch on YouTube or who you follow there, you know what I mean? Everyone's going to give you some version of this, or, let's connect with this being, or let's open this thing. And not that many people are really going to be able to tell you why. Like, what are the effects of doing so? So, one of the effects of opening the crown chakra is, first off, it's kind of what we would call one of the primary gateways into the human energy body. It's one of the gateways through which we often receive what people perceive as messages from spirit, higher wavelengths of intuitive guidance, sometimes what we would call chapters, or even moments of great inspiration or epiphanies, or every now and then, amazing, truly mind-blowing things can happen. One of the reasons why that tends to take place with the crown chakra, it's not so much that it can't take place with other chakras in the body, but for many people, the crown chakra is one of the places that just over time becomes the most affected by environmental frequencies. It's very pliable. I would say one of the ways you can imagine it is similar to your eye, and the iris, right, of your eye, and how, or the pupil rather. I'm getting my terminology wrong, but you know how as your eye dilates, it lets in more light, and as the light gets brighter, the eye there it gets smaller, right? And so you can think of your crown chakra from a similar lens, in that it'll kind of open and close. And so some of you guys are already feeling it in the top of your head. But I would say when you begin, one of the first things that you can start doing is, I would recommend people begin breathing through your chakras. And so I'll give you a really, really, really quick example of it. Um, One of the ways you can do that is just close your eyes and you'll breathe in. You'll breathe in through the top of your head, and as you breathe out, you'll breathe out through the top of your head. Now, that just me saying it like that sounds like, oh, yeah, that's simple. I can go ahead and just imagine that and do it. And for some people, it really is that simple. But what I think we're going to do here tonight is we're going to do it together as a group. And for some of you guys, it'll be the first time you ever really notice energetic movement in the upper chakras or in the crown chakra. And my prayer is it'll give you a little bit of a confirmation in terms of, just like, this is a real place within my energy body. And so, anyway, to go back to why you would want to do this, it just kind of allows more energy to enter the body. It can allow for just a greater flow of Kundalini energy within the body, a bunch of, well, honestly, I could go on and on. Now, I will say, for some people, as you continue to kind of work with the crown chakra, there are times when you can receive too much of an opening there. And there is a thing that we talk about in the chakra class. I'm not going to go into it too heavily here today. Some people will call it like Kundalini sickness, or like chi sickness, or there is a form of just craziness that can come upon people when you open the crown chakra too wide. The good news is it's not going to happen for anyone here, because we're not really going to stress it open. But just be aware, it's one of those energy centers on the body that every now and then, you know what I mean? It's like when you work out too hard and your muscles like, and you can barely walk the next day. For those of you guys that have been there and you're like, I can't even lift my leg. You know what I mean? You can have a version of that, but every now and then it makes us a little bit manic. And so, anyway, we are going to do a little bit of crown chakra movement. And so a lot of you guys have done this with me in Patreon, but we're going to take a slow breath in together. I'm going to count from 3 to 1. We're going to close our eyes. We're going to take a slow breath in together. And what you're going to do is we're going to imagine, as you take that breath in, that it's like you're breathing through the hair follicles at the top of your head, which for some people is going to be very easy to grab onto in terms of imagination. And for other people, it's like, what? And so you might find your own version, your own imaginary internal image version of that. But for those that want to join me, is you're going to be breathing in through the hair follicles at the top of your head, or you can imagine it like Swiss cheese, or even through the microscopic openings within the skin itself. We're going to breathe in to the top of your head. We're going to hold it for a quick moment, And then we're just going to release it. And a lot of you guys have done this with me before in Patreon. So don't worry, we're not going to dwell on it forever. But for those of you guys that want to experience the energy of the crown chakra, this will give you a little bit of an example of it. So if you'd like, hopefully you're not driving, just close your eyes with me. Allow your focus to move into your breath, into the feeling of your breath, whether it be moving down your throat or through your nostrils. Just bring your mind's eye to the feeling of the breath and also to the sound of my voice. And when I count from 3 to 1, everyone here, we're going to breathe in together, just like we said, right through the hair follicles, through the skin, through the microscopic openings at the top of your head. We're going to hold it there for a moment and we're going to release it. But before we do so, please give yourself permission to receive and feel this energy. There's no risk, there's no negativity behind it. It's just you experiencing your own energy in the moment. And so we'll take that breath together. Here we go, guys. 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. Breathe into the top of your head. Hold it at the top. Feel your hair, feel your scalp. Hold your breath and release it. Breathe it out of your body through the top of your head, through your hair. Good job. A few of you guys did it. We can do it again, only if people in the chat want to. That's one of the ways, one of the most effective ways to begin to gently open up energy centers in the body is through conscious breathing through those gateways. Whether you imagine it like breathing through the follicles of hair at the top of your head, or whether you perceive it like a gateway or an opening or your eye dilating, that's a really, really tried and true method. And then we'll actually do another one. We're gonna do another version of it since you got me started. I'm sorry, someone out there is gonna go, what? But for those that know, for those of you guys that are on the path to like, how can we really begin to open up the energy body and begin to embrace our natural understanding of our intuitive abilities? Those that have been around for a while will know it's like, well, yeah, you got to open your crown chakra. Otherwise, you won't ever even begin to be able to perceive what's possible for you. Literally, if you want to perceive what's possible within your reality, there are certain things that you will not be able to perceive even until the crown chakra opens up. I'll give you an example of that. Those existing in the world of extreme adherence to academia, to science. Remember the I believe science religion. Those are keywords that you'll look for to show when a person has a closed crown chakra, because they will not be able to perceive anything outside of human consciousness, or it will have to be filtered in through a sort of archaic series of kind of like learning through symbolism and like old world rhetoric. It just, the crown chakra can only receive through something that is handed across, you know what I mean, versus the open crown chakra receives energy from everywhere. And so that's why you will see people suddenly awaken into being able to use certain abilities, or they go through a very rapid and sudden awakening, and sometimes it's not such a pretty thing to watch. But um crown chakra, man. And don't, for those out there that work with energy centers, let me let me put a disclaimer on it. Yes, I'm very, very aware that there's so many other places that have tremendous effect on the energy body, but I think in terms of palpability, something that people can often feel and get a little bit of an example of over something like a YouTube live stream, the crown chakra is one of them. And so we're going to do another one, which somebody mentioned. I think it was White Swan in the chat. She had put it in there. It was the capsule phrase that we use. There it is. Boom. Thank you for putting that in the chat. We're going to do this one real quick. And for those that want to receive, once again, I believe that this phrase it's a literal crown chakra opener. And not to go too far into it, but at the stage where, you know, honestly, I talk about it in the book, you know, once again, not trying to sell it to you, but, you know, for those that want to read the whole story, you can pick up my book. Um, However, at the very beginning of my journey, the first group that I ever worked with that kind of facilitated the awakening process for me, that opened the crown, the method through which they would do it was through the act of, kind of toning or opening or kind of holding their hands over the top of someone's head. And there was a meditation we would do where they would chant this phrase. And so I'm going to change my sound settings just really quick before we do that. I think that will allow me to actually make a tone here. It might not. My sound might just have tanked right there. Sorry. Sorry if it did, but for those of you guys that want a little bit of a method through which you can begin to auditorily open and tune your crown chakra, this is one way to do it. I'm going to do the capsule phrase for you here. You can see it on the screen. It's Ogam Satyam Om. Once again, Ogam Satyam Om. Ogam Satyam Om. If you want, you can look up the real translation of that in Sanskrit. It's a Sanskrit phrase. What's funny is I knew for years the exact translation, and now it's gone. But the effect that those words have when chanted with intention at the top of the head is almost identical to the process of dilating your eyes, in that I mean literally what it is, chakra dilation. And so for those of you guys that want to use it, you can see it on the screen. If there's one thing we've learned over the past 8 years, it's past the point of being a fairy tale at this point. It's past the point of being one of those like so and so says that this, if you use these words, this thing. It's honestly so far past that, you guys. We know it works now. So it's like, use it if you choose. Ogam Satyam Om. Thanks, White Swan. I guess it was lower, but yeah, I don't know. You never know with the StreamYard has very weird audio settings. I'm gonna go back to normal, hopefully. Maybe I did it. I don't know. It might have just got way louder, actually. I'm not sure. That was the original. That's the default settings. I don't know what it was at before. Sorry. But anyway, thanks everybody. Let me know if you have any more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and do a few readings. Oh, she says change the filter back, please. Wait, which one? On the one it's on now, or the one that it was on previously? Because yeah, let me know. It's okay. It's better. Okay, yeah, that's a good sign. Like I said, I have bad microphone dynamics, you guys. But anyway, Google says Ogam Satyam Om means ultimate truth and absolute reality. I believe it's something like that. I remember they had these cards that they would hand out that had like the phrases in Sanskrit, and we, would like memorize them, and you'll chant them 108 times in a row. And I will be real, I think later on what that group kind of became, I talk about this in the book as well. I think they kind of became just kind of like a consumer cult later on, sort of from the perspective that it was just kind of like a place where, white people from America will come and engage in, diluted spiritual practices. But I think at that time in which I was there, I was blessed to be just around that group during a stage when there was a lot of something really amazing happening. And maybe it still is. Maybe we change. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think it's literally us. It was probably me. It was probably me that changed. But yeah, now I'm like, huh? I don't even recognize them anymore. I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, what's up, Dean? He says, can we just guess blind? Oh man, I wish I knew to what you were referring. Maybe we can. Maybe we can. Can we reprogram ourselves? Felicia says, what was cool about the White House dome liftoff was that experience, the spinning like it was a fast carousel with the wind blowing my hair back while I was dreaming. Man, Felicia, you got a lot of dream stuff going on. It's funny you would say that. And I guess I'll talk about this. I have been a very active dreamer at certain stages where like I've gone through stages where tremendous amount of things have happened within the dream state, and then sometimes like really not that much. And but I think this was about a little bit more than a year or so ago. I was having just a lot of dream time activity. And anyway, the reason why this is relevant today, Felicia, it was because one of the experiences I had was in a ship that did have to spin, like a fast spinning sort of moment, and there was a whole group of people that were in there. And it's just interesting to note that I'm like, huh, you had an experience where you were placed on a ship in a similar form, because it was incredibly vivid. I can't say it was part of like a White House dome. Honestly, what I could say it was part of a room. It wasn't like necessarily like we boarded a craft. It was like we entered a room and the room became the craft, and it was like this spinning kind of circular thing started happening. And yeah, everyone kind of got pulled to the walls, and you're like, you could feel like a gateway opening for a little bit. And honestly, I don't remember what happened after that. I wish I could say like, and then we went to space, or we ended up on Mars. Maybe, who knows? I wish I could say what occurred. I wish I could say what happened after that. But anyways, who knows? Maybe it is. I pray that it is. Welcome Healing says lots of dreaming the last few nights. Kept waking up. Speaking of dreaming, I know they're in the chat. There they are. Aurora Diamond Heart. I had a dream that you were driving a white school bus. I heard you already heard about it. It was a strange synchronistic thing somehow, I guess. But yeah, every now and then people will kind of roll through my dream world. Um, you never know why. You never know why. Dean Thorpe says ship sailed. It was referring to the chant. Oh, I feel you. Yeah, totally. I'll like grab your comment at the most random time where you're like, has nothing to do with anything I'm saying now, but okay, I guess you could sort of. Thank you, Kelly Ann. I appreciate you finding it. I mean that very, very sincerely. For those that have already heard it, you'll hear it again. We're going through the second gateway of intuitive activation starting this Sunday. It's happening. We're going to be doing our first tarot class in 2 years, which honestly, it's one of the, I shouldn't say few, because they've all been very enjoyable. Honestly, if I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't be doing it. I specifically wanted to do these 2 classes first this year, but it's probably the easiest one for me to talk about, which is both really fun and also also potentially risky, because that could lend itself to very long-winded classes. Although this year we have 6 sessions, so the good news is it'll be in a little bit more bite-sized chunks. But anyway, thank you, Marsha Clark. Ogam Satyam Om. That's it. You will hear other people have chanted it as well. It's been used in a number of ways. One of the beautiful things about it is that it will literally create chakra dilation. I think the most important thing is the intention that we hold behind it. But yeah, thank you. With that, I think we're going to do a few readings, you guys. This feels like a good time to begin doing so. And so part of our mission here today is to continue to demonstrate the process of multidimensional tarot. That means we're going to be pulling some cards. Yes, the one card reading, I think, is one of the most important things that anyone can master when it comes to reading tarot. Even if you're not necessarily, like I said earlier, trying to be a professional tarot reader, there's a certain type of magic that takes place for those that are able to begin to use tarot as somewhat of a guiding light, or almost like a temperature. What's the word I'm looking for? Thermometer of sorts, an energetic barometer. There we go, in a certain way. And so I think ultimately when we're doing one card readings over YouTube like this, is that's really more what I think it's intended to be. I think sometimes when I'll just be real. I'm going to open a can of worms. Get ready. I straight up cringe at people who do live streams and go on people's show and claim to be doing these elaborate clearings. And, I'm just going to clear this and I'm going to define this part of your life and I'm going to do it all in a 3-minute reading or a clearing on so and so's podcast show or on my live stream. I just honestly, I kind of cringe at those because I think for those of us that really do this work on a professional level, on a daily basis, you will know with absolute assurance that that's really not necessary. Well, I shouldn't say it always how it works, but it's just not. I'm just going to be real with you. Like the next time you're watching somebody's live stream and they say they're going to clear all of your abundance issues, for, a super chat, it's like, really, it's not, it's these are what we call spiritual performers. And I think that we're at a stage where you can greatly differentiate yourself from the cast of spiritual performers and influencers by really absorbing and creating and really learning a modality of divination that will take you beyond the sort of delusionary kind of statements that get passed around between people in our community who claim to be doing all this big work with all these beings and on all these dimensional planes. It's funny because for everyone that makes those claims, it's like there's never ever any shred of evidence, and it's like they cast these big waves of energy over people over YouTube live streams, and nobody ever stops to go, did anything happen after that? All your problems are gone now, right? You know what I mean? It's like, but we continually consume that. And I think that one of the ways for those of you that watch this channel who have noticed in your own way that you have an ability and a frequency within you to discern and to disseminate truth and to help other people begin to understand that through the lens of intuitive, whether it be, consulting, guidance, readings, healings, whatever keyword you want to attach to it, you have an ability to differentiate yourself from the mindless delusional hordes by learning an actual divination modality that can take you to a completely different level of awareness. And I think honestly, that's where picking up something like multidimensional tarot comes in. It doesn't have to be from anyone like me. You can begin to work with it in your own way. Honestly, you can probably buy a book on Amazon and learn everything you need about it. But I think that for those that are willing to devote themselves to a certain path or a craft or a channel in that sense, like a channel of energy, and it doesn't have to be anything having to do with cards. It can be your own system of energy work, your own system of, whatever word you want to attach to it. I'm trying not to use the keywords that get our video squashed, but anyway, and so part of our mission is to continue to just kind of demonstrate, like, what does the process look like of actually reading energy? Because you're going to find that a lot of people are just defining things to you. They're just giving you examples. They're just kind of engaging in a spiritual performance. And so what is it like when we're not doing that? And that's why I say when we're not doing that, it's wise to take a lot of what you receive at it's not that we take it as face value. We take it with a grain of salt. And you will notice that every single reading actually applies to every single person that is here in some form or another. And I don't mean everyone, but for the majority of people that are tuned in with that energy, I think one of the things that makes multidimensional tarot unique is that it spreads through many different realities at the same time. And anyway, let's do some readings before I just continue to rant on it. We're going to do some readings. Miranda Anderson says, are you and Eric Rain still in touch? I haven't seen him. Yeah, you know what? I think he messaged me, like, I don't know, about 6 months or so ago. I tend to hear from him every once in a while. He's definitely still going. He's definitely still out there. Selena says, yeah, it takes many sessions and time, I think. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes one. I think that a lot of people within our spiritual community overlook the process of actually um, changing their behavior cycles and really, really healing the emotional body. Like I said, we're at the stage where most people are still trying to check out from planet Earth. Very few people are going, okay, what? I'm still going to be here, right? So what do I need to do to heal the version of myself that's here in third density so that I can get through the human experience? And anyway, I'm not going to, I'll stop ranting on it. Felicia says charlatans. Some people are. Some people are. Robin Lane says that's not how this works. Maybe it's not. It might not be. You might be on a different version of reality. I don't say that in a mocking way. I say it sincerely. You might be. You might be on a different version. Andromedan says abundant readings with counting how much you donate. Someone are doing that. Yeah, honestly, this is how you're gonna know, you guys. It's like almost like I want to do a video on it. Like, how are you gonna know when your favorite healers and multidimensional disclosure influencer is really just a energy harvester? It's like that's gonna be one of the ones that you look for. The abilities that I will unlock within you based on me waving my hand and looking a certain way, or based upon how much you donate to your YouTube live stream. It's like as if that actually was the way it worked. That would be cool if it was, because that means you could donate $10,000 to someone's live stream and you could be like that. There's this guy, oh my God, I'm trying to remember. He actually created a country for himself somewhere in the South Pacific. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Anyway, he has like his own kind of spiritual sect. He's like a guru and claims to be an avatar, and it's pointless because I can't think of the guy's name. Damn, I really, really, really want to think of it's like I want to tell you guys so you can look him up. But Honora and I used to watch his videos, and one of the claims he would make was that if you pay him $14,000, you can come to his island and he will teach you to levitate. For $14,000, he'll teach you to levitate. And then I think the other thing was you will be forced to fight a version of yourself from an alternate dimension. That one for me, I was like, what? Oh, what? So you could pay $14,000 and you can learn to levitate, and you'll have to fight a version of your like what? You know what I mean? A part of me is like, if I was one of the people in this world, I could be like, I got 14K just chilling right here. Maybe I'll just, drop it. What if? Would you be into that, you guys? I'm trying to think of the name of his country. He actually got listed by, like, it's formally recognized. Anyway, maybe I'll talk about it on another live stream because for some reason I can't. But anyway, I mean, honestly, do I think that will do I think that you'll get to levitate? Probably not. But I would really like to. I mean, that would be cool. We actually watched a bunch of his videos for a while. He's been going for years. It sounds so pointless, you guys, because I'm doing this live and it's like I should be able to tell you the name of him, but it's like this long Indian name, or Eastern. So it's I'll have to look it up. But Emma the cat says, "Why would I want to fight a version of myself?" And I don't know, right? Is that like the masculine urge thing? You know how you see those memes like the masculine urge to this or that, Maybe it is, because a part of me is like, really? Oh, where maybe other normal people are like, what? Why do you want to do that? But I don't know. There was let me just say there was a good reason for it. At the time I learned of such a dynamic, there was a good reason. It was like, oh, okay, you're going to do that because of this. And so, but, I mean, you can tell how crazy it is just by hearing like the second and third hand, descriptive version of it. It's like, yeah, that's really, like, really. But yeah, people are really into it. People definitely go there. Miranda says, "Why do people fall for it?" I don't know. Part of me is like, maybe what would it be? It might be fun. Andromeda said the Feds should look into them. They can't. They're a real country. They get what? Who are they gonna? You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna look into them? Although I do think the guy got kicked out of India or something. I'm pretty sure he did. There were some allegations made. There were some allegations made. Yeah, Emma got it. Yeah, I would want to help a version of myself. You know that to me that feels a lot more, vibrationally appropriate. I do think every now and then, though, you have to, some of us have to have this timeline of overcoming a certain thing. Maybe, yeah, yeah. See, Aurora gets it, right? It is, though. It is. It's part of the hero's journey. Absolutely. Absolutely. But anyway, guys, we're gonna do some readings. The reading journey begins now. We were on the hero's journey. Now we're gonna start the readings journey. We're gonna start with Dean Thorpe, just because you're hanging out and I just saw your comment right there. You probably maybe you care about readings, maybe you don't. You're like, oh, it's the last thing I want. So you can receive it if you like. We're gonna pull a card for you, but he says a lot of people could wake up tomorrow in a reality that makes no sense and like a dream and believe that the earth has ascended into 5D rather than consider you just got plugged into the dream matrix. I think that's certainly possible. I believe it is certainly possible. Let's pull a card for Dean Thorpe. For the mind body spirit complex known as Dean Thorpe, we're going to pull a card just for anything that needs to be seen or heard. Once again, like I was saying earlier in my long-winded descriptions, some of you guys will feel like this information applies to you as well. And I mean it sincerely. It does. It does, for real. That's the nature of multidimensional tarot. But we're going to aim it at you, Dean. And yeah, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and boom. What? Dean Thorpe. Greetings. You received the mythical Two of Cups. Maybe it's not so mythical, but let's be real. Two of Cups is usually an experience that a lot of us in this world take great enjoyment out of, even if you don't know what it means. I got a lot of glare on my screen right now, Dean. That's why I'm moving the card around, trying to defeat my glare situation here. But you can probably see this. And this is going to be for anyone else that's out there trying to understand the world of tarot. The Two of Cups is a very interesting moment in one's life. Why, Dean? Because whenever it shows up, it's one of very few cards in the world of tarot that has a different meaning based upon the person who receives it. That means for you, these two people are going to symbolize something that might be very different to what it symbolizes for me. Some people see this and they know instantly, oh, yeah, that's me and so. Or some people see it and they're like, it's something they yearn for. Others avoid it. Some people are seeking this. You know what I mean? Others, they have no understanding of what it could entail for them. And so I'll just also explain it. When a Two of Cups comes into your life, be on the lookout for yes, 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 new relationships. Now, if it has to do with romance and if that is a factor for you, then that could very well entail that. But for, let's say, on a regular day-to-day basis, what it is really an opportunity for you to see eye to eye with those in your physical world and to share deeper elements of yourself with another person, to begin to create a different channel through which you will experience intimacy in this life. And the things that can be created with what happens when you really come together with another person. For some people, the pinnacle of a Two of Cups begins with a romantic entanglement. For other people, it's not even a factor, and they're like, yeah, I'm good on that stage of my life. And it could have to do with a new path or a new person or a new type of agreement that will enter your life. The reality is, though, in the world of twos, which all have a very particular role, they are a decision and a choice point. Some might say they're a crossroads. We're definitely talking about that in the tarot class. It's one of the cheat codes to understanding tarot cards. Like when you're doing readings for people, and let's say you're trying to understand like additional themes, or maybe you just see a card and you just straight up don't know what the meaning is. You're just like, I don't know. I don't know that one. Well, if you know the numerical implications, if you know about the cycle of twos, the cycle of threes, 4 or 5, and on, then you'll know it's always going to give you an example through which you can begin to interpret these cards for people. And so every two is a choice point in the world of multidimensional tarot. Every two is a gateway. It is what we call a crossroads moment. And in a Two of Cups, you got to make the decision to begin to connect deeper with people in the world, deeper with people emotionally. It's a thing you have to accept. You know what I mean? It'd be very easy for one of the two people in this scenario to turn their back upon another person. But by allowing themselves to come eye to eye, face to face, something is created. Something will be created in the life of each person. So anyway, not to dwell on and on it, but it's asking you to come to a stage in which you're willing to maybe, or maybe you're already at that stage, examine how you connect with people in your life intimately. And I don't mean like necessarily sexually. I mean just close, intimate connections. The Two of Cups will bring you a whole new era of that, but it's a thing you have to be able to meet face to face. And so anyway, I'm just going on and on, but thank you, Mr. Dean Thorpe. I appreciate you. We're going to pull some more cards. Whoever else is here, let us know. Felicia says, you will most likely get your ass kicked by yourself if you consider how 3D Earth kicked 3D Earth works. You probably I could see that. Totally. You fight the other version of yourself. I'm just probably not what you were referring to, but you'll try to battle that alternate version of yourself on another dimension and they'll kick your ass. That would suck, right? Man. That would be a really funny movie script, though. What's up, Nola Mark? She says, I would love a reading too, please. Totally. Hope you're doing well over there in the wilds of Michigan. By the way, I hear it's still frozen out there. I heard it's still frozen out there. Maybe it is, maybe not. But Florida's pretty normal. It seems to default back into summer-like conditions every few days. But you can tell they're trying to create that dark winter, thing going on here. But anyway, for those of you assisting Nola, here we go. What needs to be seen or heard? 3, 2, 1. Boom. Whoa. It's at 5 of Cups. Oh, my Lord. And I'm saying that kind of humorously. Although some people would say that. They would see a 5 of Cups and go, oh, really? But if you know 5 of Cups, honestly, if you know 5 of Cups, you could rightfully react in such a way. But if you really know 5 of Cups, you would actually ask more questions. And so for Nola Mark, we have received a 5 of Cups. What happens when this comes into your life? For those that don't know, 5 of Cups will show up. And look, let's be real. Just looking at it, you're like, well, it doesn't look that fun, right? I don't know. It looks kind of bad, right? Like, look, these cups are all spilled, and I don't know. This guy's wearing a dark cloak. It's ripe with symbolism, right? And so when a 5 of Cups comes into your world, it's important for you to note that, yes, things have happened. Certain things did go wrong. There were cups that were spilled. Certain things didn't come together. Relationships didn't come to fruition. Maybe you've been watching a certain mess unfold in front of you, or maybe you yourself have been a part of that mess, or just something that really just wasn't really coming together in this world. It's not forecasting or telling you something's not coming together. It's not, bringing that into your life. It's actually saying, hey, you might be a little bit too focused on what's already gone wrong than on what is going right. You might be more focused upon what happened recently. And I'm not saying something did. I'm just giving you 5 of Cups. Maybe you've been more focused on, the part that hurts than the part that's intact and healed. Because that is the theme of 5 of Cups. I mean, literally, you can see it within the symbolism for those that are staring at it long enough. You'll notice that, yeah, there's 2 cups still right there. They haven't spilled. And then, some people would say that's far too simple. That's not how it works. Yes, it is literally how it works. So in the world of tarot, cups are emotions, they're self-identity, they're things that we share with each other. They're the element of water, and water must flow, water will spill, it mixes it. There's so many different elemental qualities that it brings into our world. And when the Five of Cups comes out, the water has spilled, the liquid has spilled, emotions have been cast, certain events will have taken place. They're not life-ending events. Most of the cups won't ever be life-ending, but dude, you're gonna catch a lot of feelings. And so we're not placing you in that. We're giving you this example for everyone else as well that's learning to understand tarot. But the Five of Cups will come in, and it gives you direct authorization to check it out. Some of you guys know this. You're going to be like, yeah, we know what he's going to say. But for those that don't, Five of Cups, when people receive it, it's literally giving you authorization to ignore a certain series of negative or bad things that are going on in your life. Like the elephant in the room. We've all had that experience where you're like, yeah, I don't even care about that. Today, I'm just going to play with this or watch cartoons or eat whatever. You know what I mean? There's a million ways we could say it, but it gives you authorization to ignore what has gone wrong and only pay attention to what is going right. And so maybe that applies in your world. Maybe it doesn't. I hope it means something to you. Thank you, Noah. Good to see you around these parts. Selena says, I used to get this card all the time. It's a very common one. If it also shows up within the cycle of fives, excuse me, which is also a cycle, which we will be talking about in the tarot class. It's one of the cheat codes to understanding a reading when you might not necessarily know how to interpret certain energies, and you're wondering like, well, what happens when these, this number or this thing shows up? What would be one of the themes? What would be one of the themes? If you know this, the numerical significance of the cycles, and so the cycle of fives, you guys, in multidimensional tarot is about change and upheaval and moments of imbalanced energy, which can be very difficult for some. They can be momentary for others. And yeah, this is me kind of front loading the tarot class, but I've already said a lot of this publicly. The stage that the number five brings into your readings, or one of the ways in which you would understand it, is in kind of going forward, is that every five in the world of tarot is an illusionary state of being, an imbalanced illusionary state of being. Depending on the five that you get, well, like Five of Swords, social imbalance, Five of Wands, physical imbalance, or societal, we could say. Physical imbalance would be more Pentacles. Emotional imbalance would be Five of Cups, which was the one that we just saw. And the whole kicker around the stage of fives is that they're illusions that only last so long as you remain obsessed with them. But the problem is that in the cycle of fives, you could become obsessed with it for years. You could literally become obsessed with it for years. And cycle of eights is similar, although it kind of opens you up into different things, which is better in some ways. But anyway, let's do some more readings. Felicia says, crying over spilt milk. That's literally it. Definitely. That is the crying over spilt milk card, just so you know. Although in this case, it looks like wine, or someone else would say it looks like blood, right? I don't know. Yeah, but no, really, it's like no use crying over spilt milk, which, just so you know, that is literally the antidote to Five of Cups. A Five of Cups shows up and you're like, man, you might be a little too focused on what's going wrong than on what's going right. Maybe you should ignore it all for a while. Just ignore it, fuck it, and go over there and do that. And it's like people will do that and a wave will pass. There's times where that's very appropriate in this life. That is one of them. Five of Cups will say, ignore it. It's not going anywhere anyway. You'll pick it up next week or, on Monday. You guys get the idea. Sorry, I'll dwell on one card forever. But let's do some more readings. I'm down at the bottom of the chat, so if you're quick, the first person that says I want a reading will probably get a reading. So put it in there. The first person that mentions reading. While we were waiting for that, Selena says, do you think the numerology of where we live affects us energetically? Absolutely. Absolutely. Astral cartography, the alignment of, new numbers, ley lines, all of those things are huge. That said, I don't know that much about it. Honestly, that's way more in Nora's area, really. But Andromedan got it. Boom. I want a reading. Thank you. Yes. What's up, Andromedan? We'll pull a card for you. You're on top of it, I have to say. You're on top of it. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. This is going to be for Andromedan and all the many versions of Andromedan and everyone else existing in this now moment, but especially Andromedan. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and... But what? Oh my lord! It's honestly, this is a good character to get. But I'm gonna be real. Even if you got a bad character, I would say this. This is even if you got a bad one, I would still say that was a good character to get. Um, which is a thing that we talk about in the tarot class. How do you deliver? How do you deliver bad news? Not like you're really giving bad news, because the reality is, if you really know how to do readings, you will never have to give anyone bad news, and they will still receive the exact message that they need to receive. It's all about the way that you say things. It's not what you say, it's the way that you say it. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent, Andromeda, and you got judgment, which is a beautiful moment to have in one's life, whether it be a momentary thing or a chapter of your life. You guys, judgment comes in when you're going to be going through, or maybe you're currently in, a forced transformation, a period of your life that some people might even call a dark night of the soul or an ego death. It's a stage in which a version of you, yeah, I'll say it, a version of you is going to die. And I don't mean the physical death. It's like, it's the ego death. I just said it, yeah. And so judgment comes in, and whatever you're willing to let go of in your life, you're going to get a new version of that. But it is at the cost of standing in judgment of the self, of noticing the ways in which maybe you've been judged by the world, whether correctly or incorrectly. You will notice the judgments that you've made about other people. And, even though it is called judgment, and I just described the process of judgment, it's way more than that. And I pray that people that receive this card or pull it for themselves, honestly, don't get too caught up in the judgment part of judgment, which some other readers will go, what what do you mean? I'll tell you why. Because I think judgment is not necessarily even an energy that you have to agree with. Sometimes spirit will just notify you like you're in a judgment phase, and it doesn't matter whether you believe it or don't believe it, whether you make it about this or that. It'll literally be a time in your life where things that you cling on to will be systematically removed, and you'll be given a new version of many things, and you'll be coming into a different aspect of yourself. And so it's funny, because earlier I was saying, there's this guy, and you go to his weird little country island, and you know what, the whole, you fight a version of yourself in an alternate dimension. Technically, judgment would honestly be the most appropriate symbol of that in the world of tarot. Literally. A version of yourself from another timeline will come to pass, and a new version of you will be born. And anyway, I'm not trying to make it a big deal, because well, sometimes it is, but I think that's also one of the discernment points that we talk about in multidimensional tarot. It's really like when to go big. When do you make it a really big reading? When do you make it a little one? When do you realize that it's just talking about right now in the next 5 minutes, or is it like a whole chapter in somebody's life? The reality is that's the thing that you will learn with time, I would say. But there's certain paths that we can take, and anyway, I'll get I'll get caught in that. But thank you, everyone. Thanks, Andromeda. Let's do some more. Thanks, Melinda Crocker. She says your readings always resonate with me. I appreciate it. We'll pull a card for you real quick. And This is for Melinda Crocker. We're going to keep it fast. We're going to keep it flowing. Here we go. For Melinda, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Well, thank you. You've received the Six of Cups. Every six in the world of tarot is usually a good opportunity. It's not going to be universally amazing. It comes with certain, ins and outs. But Six of Cups, though, honestly, is probably, excuse me, Six of Cups is probably, I would say, the most emotionally affirming and healing versions of the cycle of sixes that you can receive in tarot. And when a six comes into your life in the world of tarot, first off, it's a benevolent number, often entails some form of an offer or an opportunity to accumulate or to grow, to heal, to embark. I would say each of the sixes gives us an approval of sorts, and when it depends on which one you get. And so, Melinda, you've received the Six of Cups, which is carries with it a lot. It's a lot of data. Not only is it an offer from your higher self, but it's also an offer from the childhood self, from the inner child. This is the number one inner child healing card in the world of multidimensional tarot. And no, it's not because it has children on it, because when the Six of Cups enters your life, it's spirit literally offering you a time in which you can begin to explore the emotional body, the emotional self, the experiences that you've accumulated within your emotional vessel. In this case, the cups. Remember earlier I was saying cups are about emotion, experience, relationships. And so a Six of Cups comes into your life as an offer for you to go deeper within your relationship with the inner child. It's not the traumatized version of your inner child, although not that there's anything wrong with that. It's more the version of your inner child that wants to play and be silly and be, just be a child. And so when it comes into your life and you're wondering, what do I do? Play like a child, act like a child, do something in the next week that, causes you to laugh and giggle in this really silly way like you did when you were a kid. If you're able to generate that in your life, there's a certain remembrance or something that will be shown to you, a clearing that will occur, a piece of your emotional body will open up. And Six of Cups is bringing that type of energy into your life. And so you guys will know this when you see it. Six of Cups comes in, and it's about healing, acknowledging, and working with the inner child. But anyway, I hope that helps. Jason H says, I guess my higher self got blocked by Andra. What? He got blocked. Boom. What's up, Nikki Hope? Good to see you as I'm coughing it up over here. I'll pull a card for you. Hope all is well out there. This one's going to be for Nikki Hope. I'm an advocate of heavy shuffling. We will be discussing this in the coming weeks in our multidimensional tarot class. I think you have to continually shuffle. If you're really going to be doing readings, and if you really want to randomize your energy, you got to keep shuffling, keep doing it. And anyway, here we go. This is for Nikki Hope. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Well. It's another six. We were just talking about the cycle of sixes, and somebody received a Six of Cups. And I was like, this is an offer for you to connect with and play with the inner child. And then we have another six that enters the room, and it's the Six of Wands. And when the Six of Wands enters your life, know that you have approval to do something. Excuse me. You have approval to embark on a journey, to pull the trigger on a certain thing in your life, to make a decision, to literally take a physical action. Maybe you've been debating on something in your life. Should I? Is it okay for me to do this? Is it recommended if I, this or that, or, whatever the series of circumstances is? Six of Wands is very, very useful for those that are wondering, should I? Is it okay if I do? Because the energy of it is approval. It's literally approval. And when you look at it, you're like, wait, what's happening here? Well, it's a guy on horseback. Yes, that's you embarking on a journey. Maybe you're leaving town. Maybe you're going on a mission. Maybe you're arriving and they're throwing you a parade, if there's one thing we know about it is that everyone's cheering. There is an approval for the image that you see from a symbolic perspective. And because wands are about action, they're also about fire. But the way they show up in your life is through actions. Wands are a thing that you do. And so a six of wands enters your life, and spirit is saying you have approval. There's a decision or a process, a journey or a trip, something that you've been debating on taking part in your life. And maybe there's not. Maybe there will be in the near future. Just know they're saying yes. They're cheering you on. And the last thing I'll say is it's time sensitive. So that's kind of, I would say that's the only part where the six of wands gets a little weird. It's that you kind of have to do it. It's like once you've identified the, oh, whoa, should I? Well, I just received approval. It's like you kind of have to engage in it. Otherwise, your opportunity can eventually fade. So it's a little bit of a time sensitive indicator. And yeah, thank you, everyone. I hope that helps, Nikki Hope. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the chat. Scrolling on down. Please hit the like button if you can. Help this video get seen by more than 37 people. We have 37 people viewing it right now. Help us get seen. Oh, now we have 38. There you go. It's working. But anyway, yeah, you can share this. Hit the like button. Please subscribe if you have not done so. What's up, Sandy S? I really want to learn, but I just haven't had the time. I would love a reading. Thank you. We're going to do one for you. Thanks for rolling through. Thanks for rolling through. This is going to be for Sandy. I might be horribly mispronouncing your name, but we're going to refer to you as Sandy here today, which is always fun because every now and then, you know, for those of us that have met people from the internet, you know, some of us are going to be going to the Journey to Truth conference in the coming weeks in Grafton, Illinois. We will be there. We'll also be at the Full Disclosure Now conference in July, but there's inevitably that time where you will meet someone from the internet, you know, and you're like, oh, and who are you? And you're like, you know, I'm so and so, you know, like there was one person, this was years ago, and I might be mixing up who I think it was, but there was this person that we met, and it was like, yeah, I'm Nasty Angel 420019 something, and you're like, what? Like that's their screen name, you know? It's like the most like ridiculous thing, and you're like, what? I don't know who you are. You know what I mean? It's like I always trip out on like the screen name, but I think it was like I'm Nasty Angel 4200. It's like, whoa, okay. What's up, Nasty Angel? Nice to meet you. You know, I'm so glad you're a real person. But every now and then, you know, it'll happen. Anyway, this is for Sandy S. Sorry, I'll get pulled off on a whole other timeline. Next thing you know, we're channeling the Galactic Alliance, but never mind. I won't go down that road. Here we go. For Sandy S. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Well. It's a 5 of wands. Do you remember earlier? Maybe you were here, Sandy S. Maybe not. Other people were here. We were talking about the fives. Somebody received a 5 of cups earlier. It's funny that we see more fives today. I mean, we've only seen 2, but I'm just saying it's funny that we'll see those because, like, I've said on other broadcasts or with other people or, you know, in Patreon, sometimes it's like certain cards don't really show up that much. I mean, you'll see some characters walk through the door like every day and you're like, oh, here they are again, you know, and then some just don't come around. And then you're like, whoa, where have you been? Where have you guys been hanging out? This is one that I haven't seen in a little while, and so maybe that means it has greater significance, maybe not, but Sandy S., you received a 5 of wands, and so maybe you can see what it is. It's a bunch of people. This is good for people who are learning tarot. This is a card that you'll see a lot, and you might not necessarily know how to interpret it, But a five of wands comes into your life in a highly imbalanced physical environment, an environment in which you might have noticed there's often a lot of competition or posturing, or people that are always trying to be the loudest voice in the room, or maybe they're trying to assert themselves over you, or maybe you're trying to assert yourself over somebody else. You know that game where everyone has to one up each other or be the loudest version, the loudest voice or the most important one, or it's like, no, me, no, me. You know what I mean? Just that game. That's five of wands. And when it shows up in your life, you're going to be asking yourself questions like, are we fighting or are we dancing? Is it a carefully choreographed movement that we're all engaging in, or are we just clashing? Because if you stare at it long enough, you'll probably notice no one's actually hitting each other. So we could even say most everyone in this entanglement is missing the mark in some way. They're missing their intended target. Maybe we could say there's a lot that you can draw from the Five of Wands when it comes to symbolism. Really depends upon the tarot deck that you have. But when you have a Five of Wands in your life, just be mindful of those moments of, competition and, asserting yourself over others, or be mindful of those that assert themselves over you. Be mindful of those that are always trying to position themselves above you. And maybe that's you. Maybe that's what you're receiving. Maybe it's a thing you contend with in your workplace environment or at home. Just know that each of the fives, like I said, is an illusionary state of being that only lasts so long as we remain obsessed with it. And the antidote for the Five of Wands is removing yourself from the entanglement. You pull yourself out of it, you take your wand, you pull it out, and you kind of stand back and go like, what the hell's everybody doing? You know what I mean? You will see the environment from which you just came from a very, very different perspective. But the thing about Five of Wands is that people that are in it, you're always going to be like, no, me, no. You're going to be defending yourself against a person, or you're going to be trying to assert yourself against someone. And it's not saying that it's like you, it's like a thing that we all engage in. And so just know, if you have that in your life, Spirit is saying, hey, look, you can pull out. Literally, just pull out. Honestly, well, I say, like, fuck it. You're like, fuck this. I'm just gonna, yeah, go ahead, you guys. I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna take. That sounds dumb. I'm gonna take my ball and play over there. Type of a vibe. But anyway, somebody out there gets the idea. Thank you, Sandy S. What's up, Kelly Dolan? Good to see you. That's hilarious. Makes me not want to use my real name. Well, you know what you could do, Kelly? You could just attach wizard to it. Just, the wizard, the wizard Kelly Dolan. You know what? I would be more likely to believe you're a wizard than most of the people that claim to be wizards. I've seen a lot of people in this so-called community that have used the moniker of a wizard lately, and I'm like, dude, you're the least wizardly type I've seen by far. Like, just like most of the people that claim to be like the galactic emissary or the galactic messenger, it's like, dude, you're like the farthest version of that. I mean, it's like that is you're the literal definition of a spiritual performer. You know what I mean? So anyway, now that I just, made fun of a bunch of random people simultaneously, yeah, you should call it, yeah, maybe call yourself a wizard. What if we all are? It's possible. It's possible. Anyway, thanks, you guys. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate you. Thanks for rolling through. Let's pull another card. I'm just going to scroll up and down maniacally, so I apologize if I don't grab the next person in the lineup. Thank you. All legendary SSJ. Thank you for having all caps. I think I was attracted to the all caps for some reason. Every now and then that works when you start yelling, you know what I mean? It's like, why are you yelling? Although you're not. I'm just, you get it. Or maybe not, but let's pull a card for all All legendary SSJ. I probably just murdered your screen name. I want somebody to make that screen name, Nasty Angel 420 something. Yeah, Nasty Angel 420. There you go. Anyway, take a slow breath in. I'm going to shuffle the cards again. Legendary SSJ. Here we go. For legendary SSJ and anyone else that needs to receive it. What needs to be seen, heard, or acknowledged in this now moment? 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello. It's a 7 of Cups. Wow. Okay. Okay. It's our first 7 of the evening. A very interesting card. Man, 7 of Cups is a fun moment to be in for some people. For other people, it can be, for some people, it can be a little bit difficult. But this, honestly, this one is going to be for a lot of people right now. But we're going to aim it directly at legendary SSJ. But you have a 7 of Cups. And so when a 7 of Cups enters your life, it's important for you to acknowledge that there are many versions of reality, or what we might call many possibilities, many things that are available to you right now for you to manifest, for you to take part in, for you to consume, or to just play a role in this life. In fact, a lot of things that you're sitting there just kind of daydreaming about, and just sitting there in the background in the afternoon, like, damn, what if, I wonder. 7 of Cups is spirit saying, look, those things that you're daydreaming about, it's past the point of being a daydream, and these are possibilities. These are things that you can bring into your reality. That's why your mind keeps going back to them over and over and over again. And so when a 7 of Cups comes into your life, you must understand that you're operating with many different versions of reality and many different possibilities, which is beautiful. Because if you know what it is you truly want and are willing to hyper focus on a certain type of experience, or one of the gateways, one of these cups that we see in the image here, you can go farther than you've ever been in any one of these areas. The problem with 7 of Cups is that most people don't realize that the dreams and the ideas that they have in their head and in their mind's eye are far beyond that, and they can be created or formed into literal reality. The problem is that they tend to not really take action on certain things in their life. I'm not defining you as this legendary SSJ. I'm just giving you points, data points of 7 of Cups. People that really have this energy will have incredible possibilities, but they won't necessarily be taking action on them. And they'll know, like, I could do that. Yeah, I could also do that one too. Yeah, I could do that if I really wanted to, which is beautiful because they can, and it's true, but they tend to not. And so the story of 7 of Cups is you have many possibilities available, but what happens for people that are really in the stages, they tend to just sip. They'll sip from each cup, a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, you know what I mean? And they never get all of anything. They just get little bits of it. They never go all the way in any one path or one place in their life. They get close sometimes. They might take a few gulps of it, but they'll inevitably move on to another one. It's just the nature of 7 of Cups. It's incredible creationary capability that gets unfocused, and it gets caught up in daydreams. And if you're able to as we say, really hyper focus or lock in on any one of those 7 cups, you can bring it into your life. Just notice what they symbolize. Well, one of them's gold, right? You can see jewelry. One of them's a castle. One of them's a dragon, that's fire, destruction. Then there's the mask, that's mystery. Then there's snake. That could be, some people would say, deception. It's a lot bigger than that, though. Then there's the wreath. What could that symbolize? Some people think it means a lot of things. Beautification of your physical world, of the body, of the environment. There's magic. There's a number of things. Not that it's about what these things symbolize. I'm just going into tarot theory with you. The idea behind 7 of Cups is that it gives us an opportunity to bring things into your reality that right now appear as daydreams, or things that you just, imagine in your world. And anyway, to me, it's a beautiful sign to see. but only good if you're willing to take action. So you know what I mean? It's like one of those things where they're like, yes, it's true, you could, but will you? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make it a joke. I'm just saying, like literally, that story of Seven of Cups. They're like, yes, you could have all of those things. We don't know. Anyway, thank you, everyone. We're gonna do a couple more. Thank you, friends. Sandy says, "Nasty Angel is gonna be a core memory now." No, for real, dude. It was this guy. It was a guy too. It was a guy. Nasty Angel 4200. Like, yeah. Anyway, thank you, everyone. I'm gonna scroll through and grab a random person. Don't be offended if I don't choose you. It is literally one of those ones where I just keep going back and forth until one of them just like shows up, and I eventually click on one of them. And so 1, 2, 3. This might be a reading. It is. Yeah. Okay. Cool. It was either going to be you or the one underneath it. So boom. There you go. What's up? Harmony is you too. I know this has nothing to do with your screen name at all, and I know the band U2 is cringe for a lot of people now, right? U2's cringe, right? The band, they're like fully in the blood cult, they're kind of, they're just like, but dude, back in the early 80s, man, damn, they were fired. That was one of the first bands I actually, I'll just be real. I learned to sing by listening to U2 in the early 80s as a kid. Now though I can't, you know what I mean? Like they talk about like, whew, man, nearly unlistenable these days. But anyway, I know that's not what you're referring to. This is gonna be a card for Harmony is you too. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Okay, Harmony is you too. You got a 6 of Pentacles. This is a complex image that sometimes doesn't really show up on the screen that well. That's why I get really close. And so Harmony is you too. Maybe you can see it's depicted as a rich man, beautiful, wearing this incredible clothing, many colors. Look at all the gold everywhere, and look at all these hands coming out. Maybe you can see it on your screen, maybe not. If you're on your phone, it might be even smaller, but 6 of Pentacles is an interesting energy. If you were here earlier, somebody received a 6 of Wands. And I was like, so, and 6 of Cups. We've received 3 out of 4 sixes. And earlier, what I was saying is that each of the number 6 in the world of tarot is a benevolent number. It gives you an authorization to begin something, to do something, to receive something. It can be an omen of success. It can be an omen of abundance. It can be an omen of rightful action. It can be an omen of healing, of purpose. There's a million things that it can bring into your life. None of them are extremely explosive. I'll be real. It's not meant to be explosive. It's well balanced though, and the number 6 is honestly, it's a good thing to see, like depending on what it is that you're trying to do right now. And so, maybe this applies to you, maybe it doesn't, but a 6 of Pentacles comes into your life, and it's all about what you're investing your energy and your soul, and sometimes your money. Honestly, if it's about money for you right now, it'll also be about what you're investing your money in. But the 6 of Pentacles is about investment and what it is that we put on the line, and what it is that we receive when we learn to exchange ourselves with the world in a different or a new way. And so let's say if you have a 6 of Pentacles in your life, Spirit's literally telling you you're worth a lot more than you might perceive right now. And there's something that you have that the world wants to exchange with you, something that people want. It's depicted by all these hands coming out and all this money changing hands. And there's a lot more that goes along with it. I got to be real. Each of the 6s has every card in tarot has a very distinct downside as well, which sometimes will be of relevance depending on what we're doing in these readings. Sometimes it doesn't, but I'll tell you the downside of 6 of Pentacles is one that I think is important to always mention, because when it comes into your life, Harmony is you too. It's Spirit saying, look, there's something you have right now that the world wants to exchange that has value, something that's going to help you accumulate energy and resources. And honestly, it's very creationary. It's a good thing to have, provided you're willing to invest yourself properly. And so where you invest your time and energy right now is of critical importance, because the downside of this is that you can jump into the wrong thing and you'll invest a bunch of time and energy and money in something and it'll be squandered. Or you'll do a certain thing and you'll gain a bunch really quickly. You know, like those people that win the lottery, they win this huge lottery payout. You're like, oh my God, I just won $25 million. It's crazy. And then you see them a year later and they're like, yeah, it's gone. I don't know. Just like, it's gone. That could be Six of Pentacles. It's like you'll get it, you'll accumulate a whole bunch, but if you're not careful, it'll drain out fast. And so, in general, though, it's a good energy to have, provided you're willing to really be mindful about where you invest your time and effort. So, anyway, I hope that helps. Excuse me as I start coughing everywhere. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go down to the bottom of the chat. I think we're going to do one more before we're going to, I always say this, we're going to try to cut our broadcast at 2 hours tonight. It's really, you guys, this one will be purely a experiment to see if it helps us move past 500 to 600 views. Because I'm going to be real, we're in such a weird algorithmic cap. It's like all I do is lose subscribers. And it's like no matter what video we make, it can only go to a certain point. And one of the things I've learned in kind of analyzing all that is the length of your live has a really big effect over how or who it'll get seen by in terms of recommended videos. So we're gonna do one more. We got it. They showed up. What? We're gonna do one. Nasty Angel. Wait, where did you go? Why did I click off? Who's it going to be? You might have already gotten one. So whoever decided to make this profile, good job. You might have already changed or you might have already received a reading from your other profile, but we're going to do it just because you did it. Nasty Angel turned up. Here we go. We're going to pull a card for Nasty Angel. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, oh my God, Nasty Angel, you got the tower. What? Oh man. Which honestly, don't ever get freaked out, you guys. When you see the tower, don't get freaked out. But it's just funny because in a way, it's like hilarious. But anyway, the tower will show up in your life at a time in which a certain thing you are building or attempting to put together is being called into question. It's not a guarantee of demise. It's not a guarantee of collapse, but it will often show up in your life to say, hey, careful what you're building, careful what you're trying to put together, because it's on very shaky ground and something, that you might be engaging in. It has nothing to do with evil. When you see a tower, don't think like, oh, I did something wrong or bad, or I'm it's not an arbiter of morality. A tower talks about where we place our energy, what we try to create, what we place what we put ourselves into, and the structures that we build in this life, and how some of them are going to fail, some of them are going to last, some of them were never meant to be built to begin with. And so a tower comes into your life and you really got to ask yourself, what is it that I keep putting energy and time into? What do I keep trying to, force to work in my life? Or, what do I see collapsing around me that I'm still engaging in? That's another one, because tower can also be things that we engage in that just aren't really working for us anymore. And spirit will say, hey, look, if you tear that down now, if you rip it apart right now, you can change everything. In fact, we'll give you a chance to rebuild it. You can start all over again. You can make it way stronger, way better. It's going to work out much quicker for you if you're willing to get out now. That's, I think, one of the smartest ways in which people can take the tower. It doesn't always apply to a million things in your life, but it'll show up at these times in which spirit is saying, hey, reevaluate that. Reevaluate that move you're making right there. It's not like anything really bad's going to happen, but it's probably not going to work. And so that could be, maybe for you specifically, Nasty Angel, Maybe it could be for other people here, but it's just interesting to see the Tower. For those of you that are learning to read tarot, don't ever get freaked out when you see cards like the Tower. If you see the Devil, if you see Ten of Swords, that's one where honestly I would be more concerned about getting Ten of Swords than I would be the Tower. Some of you out there will know Ten of Swords, but if you don't worry about it. You can find out in our tarot class. But anyway, thank you, Nasty Angel. We're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one more card reading. What if it was the real Nasty Angel 42? I think it was 4200198 or something. It was just like a series of numbers after. Who knows? Who knows what it could? Probably their birth date or something. Probably their birth date. Jason H says, I just realized I had pentacles and monocle mixed up. That's okay. The other way you could think of them is coins. Certain tarot decks will describe them as coins. Other tarot decks will describe them as earth, which is a weird one. They'll say 6 of earth, and it's like, yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Coins is very, very common. But yeah, technically pentacles. Pentacles is the word. Anyway, let's do one other one. Let's do a final reading. The last person to say the word reading in the chat is going to be the one that we choose. So you'll hear this 12 seconds after I say it. As I pull, or as I shuffle here maniacally in the background. Who will it be? White Swan says, don't forget to check out. Yeah, thank you, by the way. Absolutely. It's coming up this Sunday, everyone. You can join us. We just sent out the Zoom link for the tarot class earlier today. Oh, there we go. It's going to be Nick reading. Yes. Here we go. It's going to be Nick. Here we go. With the mind body spirit complex known as Nick. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Whoa. Well. You've received the 3 of Swords, which some people will see and go, oh, okay. All right. What does this mean when it comes into your life? It's a very particular type of energy. And the first thing I would say is the severity is variable. In the world of tarot, severity is variable. So you're going to see a big image and go, oh. And it could be a big deal. It could be maybe not such a big deal, but 3 of Swords brings into mind emotional pain, the wounds of the heart, certain words that were said long ago, certain things, phrases that were thrown around. And, we've all had those experiences in this life. Someone said a thing, they did an action, and it didn't kill you, right? It didn't physically wound you, but it went all the way in. It hit you all the way in the heart. And that's the 3 of Swords. And it's the 3 of Swords is not meant to kill you. It's meant to bring up the old shards of emotional wounds that still exist within the energy body, and to remind you how at a certain stage we have to begin to extract those energies and release those things from the heart, lest we begin to use them as wounds or as weapons against another person. And so 3 of Swords really asks us to speak about certain things that have happened in the past. It asks us to begin to kind of pull the arrows out, where you're like, which is a hard thing to do. It does come with pain and self-examination. For some people, it's not, like this is excruciating, life-ending process. But for some people, 3 of Swords can be very emotional, and there can be a lot of revealing that comes into it. So I'm not saying that that's the stage that you're going into, or maybe you've been there, but when a 3 of Swords enters your life, understand that you have a lot of abilities and capabilities right now. And if you feel as though they're not coming to fruition, or if you feel like things aren't moving in your life, something's not growing or getting stronger in the way that you want it to, 3 of Swords says, well, okay, that's okay. It's about your emotional body, the emotional wounds that still exist within us, which is honestly why 3 of Swords is a really good card to get when you're on the path toward healing or kind of strengthening yourself, and you're like, what do I need to work with, spirit? What do I need to acknowledge or see in my life right now so that I can get better, stronger, heal to a greater level? A Three of Swords is brilliant because it's literally pointing like, well, there you go. You asked and we told you. It's literally the wounds of the heart that still exist within you. And so, sometimes it's like a yay message. Sometimes it's like, oh, I know. You know what I mean? So wherever that hits you, I pray that there's some relevance in there for you. But yeah, Three of Swords, man, a very, very interesting place to be. Just know that the things that you feel are your greatest wounds right now, if you really address them over the coming weeks, days, months, years, however long it takes, they become your greatest strengths, things that you will use to help save the lives of yourself and others around you. So it's honestly, it's a beautiful energy to receive if you can wade through some wounds in one's life. And anyway, I pray that finds you well, Nick. I hope that means something in your life. And yeah, I also want to say thank you to everyone that's been hanging out here. This will be our first official barely over 2 hour live stream. And so if you've been hanging out with us here, thank you sincerely. We're going to be coming back in the coming weeks. You can still join us. I think I saw one person on my phone here signed up for, so I think there's still one or two spots left for our tarot class. But for those of you guys that want to join us, you can head over to our website. It will be filled by the end of the week. And so join us if you want to begin to really, really open up your intuitive abilities this year in a way that you never have before. If there's one thing I can promise you, if there's one thing, promise is a very dirty word in the world of intuitive development. But seriously, if there's one thing I can promise and guarantee you is that by the end of the 6-week journey, you will absolutely be able to pull cards for yourself or another person. Definitely. I mean, honestly, you can do it now. You can do it now, but there's a way. Anyway, I'm definitely looking forward to the remaining two of you guys that are going to join us. And we also, I guess I saved it for the very end, but we're gonna be doing more readings in Patreon this weekend on Saturday. I will talk about that in a separate post. I think there's another live we're going to do before this weekend, but anyone that wants to join us, if you want to be guaranteed to get a reading, like, you can join our Patreon for $10 and you will literally every single month for 5 years. It's still going. I don't know how he did it, but anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm not going to linger much longer. Please hit the like button. Say a silent prayer to the AI internet archon gods that, maybe they'll allow our channel to get seen by a few more people this month. You never know. But in the meantime, I'm looking forward to meeting with you guys next Saturday as well. And yeah, live from wherever we are, drifting in this strange universe now. We're looking for a new location for the multi-dimensional trailer park. So let me know if you have anything in mind. But in the meantime, stay out of trouble. And yeah, we'll see you guys very soon.